to the first and probably the last video instruction series. How are you doing? What I'm going to do is go through a bunch of different concepts to give you a on-camera lesson, since I'm too cheap to fly to Florida. So hopefully you'll find some of the stuff that I do interesting, and with this video equipment you'll be able to see exactly what I'm doing. First thing I'd like to cover is a little bit about me. Not that you care, but anyway, I've been playing since I was about 18 and 17 or 18, and have not yet learned how to read music. Play by ear only. I've been playing in lots of different types of bands. It's a lot of fun. Actually makes some money. This past year I've made probably $4,000 or $5,000. I spent close to $10,000 on equipment, but that's another matter entirely. But it's a lot of fun to play, especially in groups. What I'll do is I'll cover some, since I can't interview myself, I'm just going to cover some various ideas about things that I've learned through the years, and hopefully things that you can practice and pick up on to better your playing. First thing I'd like to do is give some advice about just some overall technique. One of the things that I just started doing in the past few years is to try to keep my hands, my fingers spaced exactly along where the frets are. When I first started playing, I was playing primarily with my index finger and my ring finger here. But when you position yourself so that you can play all the notes without moving your hand like this, then of course you can play a lot easier, and you can go into different scales and different modes without having to move your hand, which causes fret noise, and also becomes less accurate because you have to actually move. Let's see. Where I actually press on the frets here is you can get a sound pretty much anywhere in between the two frets. But as you notice, as you go further towards the headstock here, you get a buzzing sound. And I'll do a little close-up here so you can see what I'm talking about. Like right there is a bad place to play this D here, but if you're right here, it's much better. Plus, if you switch to a fretless, you hit exactly the same spot and it'll be the right note. So you always want to be right over the fret, just behind it, for the best tone and the best intonation if you happen to be playing an upright or a fretless. The next thing I'm going to cover is a couple of scales. These are immensely useful, very simple scales. I'm not sure if you've learned any scales yet in school or in your own teaching, but the first one I'll do here is a C major scale. Just those notes right there: C, D, E, F, G, A, E, and C. Very useful if you know that, say for instance, there's a chord and you need to play a bass line within that chord. You can pretty much cover a lot of the different notes in there and come up with a bass line that will kind of fit. Just off the cuff here. So the other one I'm going to cover is the minor scale, which I tend to play in this position here. So the notes there are C, D, and E flat, or D sharp, F, G, and G sharp or A flat there, B flat or A sharp, and C is the top note there. So that's very useful if you know that there's a minor chord in the song you're playing, and you're looking for a walking line to do in it. Any of those types of patterns can fit in the chord. You don't actually even have to start on the root. If you're doing some sort of a line that's just playing through other notes within the scale there that can fit and even sound good. Let's see, what else do I want to cover? One thing that's really important for bass players is to build up endurance, and that's something that does not come naturally to people. It's something you have to do by playing regularly. At your level now, you'd probably have to practice regularly, but when you get old enough so that you can start playing on the weekends and gigging, as it were, that's a great place to build up your endurance. My endurance is pretty low right now because I'm only working about 2 nights or 1 weekend a month. But that's really the best and the only way to build up your endurance is to play regularly. Another thing you can do for endurance is to vary your left hand positions. Obviously, if you use the same muscles in the same positions all the time, then you'll have some trouble with muscle strain. So what I do a lot of times is I'll start using other fingers. Like, for instance, if I would normally play a G right here with that middle finger. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Later on, and then you can use the thumb wrapped over there. That's improper technique, but it's good for the hand, for me, to do different things. Another thing I actually even do sometimes is to play over the top of the neck. So and then you can start, it's a little harder, but it's something. It's kind of a nifty, flashy thing to do too. Can't remember some of the songs that I do that in, but sometimes you can put stuff like that up on stage, and it's impressive and helps your hand to keep from getting fatigued. Let's see, what else do I want to cover here? I can't ask you if you have any questions because I can't hear you, so I'm sorry. Here's one of my favorite exercises that I learned from a video that I saw a number of years ago, and this is one that has helped me a whole lot, and I still have only mastered it or gotten used to it in the key of C. But it is an exercise that sounds fairly musical, and I'll just play it for you here if I can remember all the notes. And it's a way to run through the neck in the key of C using various arpeggios and different chords that are in the key of C. And what I did there, I have to look at my cheat sheet here to make sure that I give you the correct chord names, because I'm not musically taught here. But I'm going up on a C major 7 here to C, E, G, and then the B there is the major 7. Normally that wouldn't be a good chord tone for the key of C. Sounds dissonant. But if you're using it within a line, it kind of sounds jazzy and is very useful. Anyway, I'm going up on the C major 7, and I'm coming down here, it says, on the G minor 7. Although I think that's a D minor 7, yeah. Definitely a D minor 7. And then up on the E minor 7, and down major, and then up on a G7, and then down A minor, and the last one I think is called the dominant 7 for G without the G. Yes. So it's very useful if you know there's a C chord and you have to do a solo bit, or you have to do a fill in to the next chord or something. If you play through a lot of those notes that are in that pattern, a lot of times it can sound pretty cool, and it's a very useful exercise. Now, obviously, if you were to master that in all keys, that would be something that's very useful, because you'll know, say for instance, if the chord is a C for the rest of the band, that if you play something that's in E minor, every note's going to be in key. Up there, but I think you get the idea. Plus, the other thing I like about that exercise is that it's musical. It's not something that sounds like something that sounds, something that you're just going to repeat over and over again, and it's not. If your parents or sister hears you doing it, it's going to drive them nuts. It's more of a musical thing, and it's got a lot of notes in it that are very useful for the key. Okay. Here's something that people have asked me about before, and I'm surprised more people aren't real concerned about it. It's different right-hand techniques that you can use for various reasons. Most of the time, I play on the right hand with these two fingers right here. I try to alternate between them too to make it easier to play faster and to cut down on fatigue. The other things I'd like to say about right-hand technique, where you play in relation to the instrument has a big effect on your tone. If you're going for a rounder or softer tone, you can play up here near the neck. It gives you a deeper sound, maybe even more like an upright. You play it back this way towards the bridge, you can get a higher kind of a sound. Plus, the string doesn't move as much, and if you have to play fast, this is a good place to rest your hands to avoid having the string move so much that you can't play very fast. Plus, if you're going to play harmonics, if you're not familiar with harmonics, that's when you play a note and lightly touch above a certain fret. Like, for instance, I'm doing some harmonics here on the 12th fret. Let me get real close in there if we can get a focus. Doesn't look like the autofocus is working too well there. That's the 12th fret right there. You just lightly touch. You can get kind of a chimey bell effect. And that's something I use a whole lot because it allows you to do things like play a chord and then continue to play over that. It allows you to get a much more full sound, obviously, than just a single note like a normal bass line would be. And most of the bands I've been in, there hasn't been a keyboard player, so a lot of times it's very helpful to be able to cover chords and the bass note at the same time, so that you can get more of an effect. The Harmonics series is on obviously on the guitar and on the bass also. The most important of the notes that you can get out of harmonics are above the 12th fret, which is 1 octave above the open string. You've got your 7th fret, which is a D on the G string here. Then you've got 2 octaves above the open string here, and then you've got this note here at the 4th fret, which is the 3rd. That one also appears exactly at the 9th fret also. I'll play a bit of a piece that's from one of my favorite bass players that pretty much exclusively uses harmonics. It's called Portrait of Tracy. What I'm doing there at the end is what's called artificial harmonics. That's something that's a lot of fun to play too. There's various ways to do that. What a lot of players will do is they'll use their thumb here. You notice how when you play the 12th fret harmonic here, what you're doing is you're dividing the distance between the back up here just a little bit. You're dividing the distance between the bridge and the nut up here exactly in half to get an octave. Now, if you fret a note, like let's say you fret this note, this G sharp up here, that same harmonic is going to appear right here. So what I'm doing there is I'm playing with this finger and touching with the index finger, just like I normally would, right like this. And then once you can master this, you can do that at various places. One little piece that I've played before is and all I'm really doing is just tapping here at various places. You know how I told you before how you've got the 12th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret, 4th fret, those different harmonics there. Anytime you fret a note, you can do the same thing if you just divide it in half here. Find it here. Edit. Let's see what's a good place to do this here that I can do that properly. There it is. So for instance, the 4th, 5th, and 7th fret harmonics on the open G string, if I'm to fret a C here on the G string, then they would be available here at right there. Do that again. So if I'm to fret the 4th, 5th, and 7th harmonic on the open G string, if I'm to fret this note right here on the G string, which is a C, and then play these notes right here, what that opens up for you is pretty much you can start doing harmonics in any key. See, because normally if, say for instance, if you've got a song and you need to play a harmonic chord that's in the key of C, like a C9, one of my favorites, I'm playing the C here on the A string. Let me zoom in there. Playing the C there on the A string. I'm playing this 5th fret harmonic on the E string, which is a high E. Playing this 5th fret harmonic on the D string there, which is once again a D, and then this 5th fret harmonic on the G string, the G. All of them together is a nice sounding C9 chord. But let's say that the key that you're playing in is C sharp. Obviously you can't play that harmonic there. That doesn't work. But what you can do is fret some notes and then do the false harmonics I was talking about before. That's kind of an advanced example there, because you can see the left-hand stretch is pretty much impossible for most people. But you get the idea. Once you master the artificial harmonics, then you can start playing them for effect, or if you need to add a note to a chord that you couldn't normally get on an open string in this series of harmonics, then you can start doing things in different places there. Okay, enough about harmonics. Let's see. It'd be nice if I could just give you some exercises to play through here, but I usually don't play exercises. I don't often practice much at all. What I like to do is learn songs. So you need to find some songs that you'd like to learn, and if you want, you can. If you have trouble learning them by ear, because that can be very difficult, especially when people like the bass player in Primus, for instance, start using techniques that are not commonly available. He does a lot of tapping and a lot of fast playing that's very difficult for a beginner to do. But if you've got some stuff you'd like to learn, give me a call or have Wayne send me some email, and I'll be glad to learn it for you and either write the notes down for you or put it on video for you. I'm just going to go and switch to the fretless now so you can get a chance to see the different tone that you can get. I've got a lot of different basses because it's a disease called collectitis, but besides that you can get lots of different sounds out of the different basses. I'll just do a quick comparison. Maybe I'll play the same thing on a couple of different basses here so you can get an idea of the difference in sound. The sound quality on this video camera is not going to be all that good, but you might be able to get the idea. This is the Fender Jazz bass. It's got kind of a brighter sound. It's much better for harmonics than some of the other basses that I have. And there are certain songs, say for instance, that use slapping that sound much better on this. Say for instance, there's a song called Dog that we do that requires that I tune my E string down to D. But the song basically has a line that goes like this. That same line on a different bass will sound different, and I will show you. This here is something I've been wanting to get for a long time, but I haven't for a bunch of different reasons. This is a Rickenbacker bass, very popular in the 70s because some very famous people started using them, including Paul McCartney, Chris Squire from a band called Yes that you may or may not have heard of. And I'm sure, Geddy Lee used to use one in the band called Rush also. This has more of a deeper sound than the Fender. And notice how the harmonics aren't nearly as strong. You barely hear that. So I'll try to play that same song. It usually doesn't sound that good, but I'll try to do it. Slapping on the low E string there, the sound is not as pleasant. In my band, we do some songs from an artist called Joe Jackson. His bass player in the 70s used a Rickenbacker bass like this, and so I always use this bass for those songs because it will imitate the sound. I usually use a pick for those songs, but let me see if I can remember the song. One's called Sunday Papers. This has kind of a dirtier sound. Very different sound. Next I'll switch to the fretless bass, which is most often used for jazz and softer sounds. It's called fretless, of course, because it doesn't have the metal frets in the neck. So what you can do is you can play out of tune very easily is one advantage, disadvantage. But the sound is quite unique compared to the fretted bass. This is a black one that I got when I was in California. It's a brand called Padula. Barely see that on the headstock there. Now, if you look closely, it looks like it has frets, but they're actually white lines, so that I know where I am. Because without frets, it's very difficult to know where you are on the neck. Let me see if I'm in tune here. Notice I'm using those harmonics again to tune. I'm sure you've seen that before. The 7th on the G string with the 5th on the D string should be the same note. But anyway, the tone that you can get from the fretless here is unique. State Love Song that we do, and you notice how the vibrato that I'm getting there, because I can play all around the note there. Let me do another little piece here to demonstrate the sound of the fretless. I'd probably use it a lot more, but it's very easy to play out of tune, especially when you play chords. I'll play an E chord up here. Notice how it just sounds a little sour if I don't hit it just quite right. And I guess in the interest of the holiday season here, I'll try to whip out a little holiday favorite on this this one. Notice how it's much better for ballads, I think it is, than the other basses. Take 5. So you can see how the tone is pretty much completely different. The last bass I've got over here is another Fender Jazz bass, pretty similar tune to the one I was playing initially. See if I can think of anything else I can play for you here. Here's a bass line that you might find familiar. This is one of those things that came out a few years ago, and I heard it, and I thought, well, geez, I just have to learn that. I don't want to play this one with a pick, but I think I can fake it here without the pick. figure out, and I don't think I really fully figured it out. Let me see if I can remember it here. Something from it. Not sure how well the video quality is going to work for you, but happy Christmas.